Ken, how are you?
Yeah.
Good, Tarek.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Uh, it's the green, the green talk, the money talk. I'd like to welcome on board Tariq Fahim, Tamer Azer, and Shane from Shroot Partners and Endure Capital. Um, it's really our pleasure having you guys in this tech event. It's full of techies and geeks and all the guys behind the
Thank you, Aya.
screens. However, we believe that these people who are the main drive behind all the tech uh, revolution happening right now, they are the geeks, the undergrounds who are moving things forward, who are disrupting Robin Hood style. We, we are disruptive at the specific stage in our career path. So I'd like firstly to know every one of you and introduce you to our audience. So I'd like to start with Tamer. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Aya. Thank you so much for having us. It's always exciting to talk to the people behind the screens, as you say. You are remembered. You are not forgotten. We know who you are, and we're very excited to be able to have an opportunity to talk to you. My name is Tamer Aizer. I'm the Egypt partner for Shroot Ventures, Shroot Partners. And I'm here with one of my partners, Shane as well, and we're very, very excited to be a part of this conversation. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, so introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for really giving me this opportunity to really learn from each other. So, Tamer, Tarek,
Could you
super
please increase
excited.
your voices somehow? Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that. Very excited to be here, everyone. Really, it's always fun to speak about our passion and sharing our journey with Tarek and Tamer, and look forward to receiving a lot more questions and also trying my best to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, Tariq,
Hi, hello everybody. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for the invitation, Aya, and really pleasure to be, of course, with Shane and Tamer. We've worked together several times and we've done several deals together, and always looking forward to do more and exchange our thoughts together every time. I'm a software engineer by education, so I've been through this before. I still till now I write code, not as frequent as I want to, but I still do. But just to give you some context, like last time I wrote code in C++. So basically, that it tells you something about how old I am in a way or another. But yeah, I manage something called Endure Capital. Endure Capital is a venture capital fund. We invest in companies coming from the emerging markets, and we invest as well in developed markets like the US and Europe.
excellent.
And we're an early stage investor.
Excellent. So, Tariq, I'd like to start the narrative from your side. There is a huge rise in the tech ecosystem and the startup region in Middle East and Africa specifically, more than before, more than ever actually. A lot of money being poured, a lot of rounds have been raised with numbers with some. I've never seen that huge amount of fund being poured into our region. So, would you please give us insights about what's happening out there? What is the state of the art? What is the state of the scene we have right now?
Of course, first of all, this is actually a good thing. We have more companies doing more work, having more money coming into the region. Makes a lot of sense. And this trend is going to continue at least for the coming 3 to 4 years. And it's for very specific reasons, very, very simple reasons. One of them, basically, the overall world is not only our region, is at inflation point. So it's inflation mean that it's not only the prices of the companies are increasing, but actually the way or the money value is actually decreasing. So in return, the prices of every company is increasing in return because the money value itself is decreasing. That's one thing. Second,
Okay.
because a lot of people
Makes
around
sense.
us now understand how technology can disrupt a lot of companies and a lot of industries specifically old and boring industries will add a lot of many optimization elements in the value chain, which basically in return add to unprecedented value that's being unlocked specifically for those companies. So a lot of people now, it's not just investing in tech, because tech by itself is not like it's not like a sector by itself as it used to be. It is something that's enabled, so it's tech enabled. So for example, Careem is a transportation, Maxab is a FMCG distribution. So it's not like a tech company per se. It is actually tech enabled, which allows unprecedented value that's being created. So everybody is after this. So since everybody is after this, and a lot of funds doing deals really fast, specifically in the US and more developed markets, that added some pressure on the typical VCs like the Sequoias and the benchmark in the US. Their IRRs are being squeezed because a lot of angel investors, a lot of early investors would do deals faster with a higher valuation. The typical PE who used to be not in the tech field or before, or not in the tech scene, now learning how to do VC, putting more money later, and earlier in an earlier stage. So squeezing the opportunity for all the typical funds, again, like benchmarks and Sequoias of the world. So those guys, for them, in order to retain their IRRs and return, started to look at different countries and different regions in the world. And if you look around you in different regions of the world, it makes a lot of sense to go to Latin America, Africa, and Middle East plus Pakistan. Middle East, Pakistan, maybe at the shorter term or the near term. Africa and Latin America, but Africa is medium to long term to have the better return. Otherwise, uh, you might be going to invest in Mars, but I can tell you, basically, we have still better economics in here, in our region, for everybody to come in and work in here.
Excellent.
So this is what's happening.
Excellent. So Shane, I'd like to see your perspective. What's happening in the region from your perspective?
So first, I would like to comment what Tarek has mentioned. So we as a Shuruk, we're leading early stage VC in the whole Middle East, North Africa, and Pakistan. We look at actually technology not as vertical; it should actually be horizontal. So everything has a tech angle, right? There's the Kareem example you mentioned, the mobility, the logistics, right? You can be as boring as healthcare is not boring. It's a massive space. So technology is actually horizontal, right? And as Tarek and Tamer mentioned, every region, company, every sector in our region is waking up to embrace that tech as a way to scale, a way to enable their core businesses. So that's why I believe we're really at the inflection point and the exciting time to see this unprecedented growth in our regional technology ecosystem. And a lot of investors are being smart about it. Also, a lot of founders, which is really the backbone of enabling this ecosystem, is happening. So that's why I just wanted to quickly highlight. And still, what I wanted to highlight is that we're still at the beginning phase of our journey. But if you think about the US VC and the startup ecosystem, it has been around for 40 years plus. We're talking still about the less than 10 years here, right? And I believe that we are gonna have an accelerated pace for the next 5 years. So anyone who is willing to join, I believe you're gonna really have a amazing journey, and we'll love to be a part of that to support you on that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so Tamir, I'd like to ask you from, I know that you work closely with startups, specifically in Egypt, in Dubai, UAE, and KSA. What kind of challenges you are seeing in the region right now, given all this fund being pumped and all these high aspirations we have? What kind of challenges you are seeing?
I think there's a big issue that's becoming more and more prevalent, which is not just attracting or identifying the right talent, but also retaining them. We're seeing a lot of competition between companies. We're seeing a lot of competition coming from abroad. We're seeing a lot of the larger players like Amazon setting up big presence in Egypt. So for young agile companies that are trying to hustle to build something, it's becoming a bit more challenging to identify, attract, and retain the right talent. Much of how we sort of approach people and the type of contracts we negotiate with people will be changing over time. So I think we have to start paying closer attention to human capital, nurturing human capital and growing human capital and supporting it. So that's a major sort of challenge that will increase as more and more of the globe's tech giants realize that this region is a big enough market for them to have a very strong presence. So before, the talent issue was around people leaving Egypt and going somewhere else, or leaving the region and going somewhere else. Now I think the challenge is going to start shifting into our own backyard, where some of these companies are going to start moving in and attracting some of the talent that we are looking for.
Okay, so number one is the talents, the human capital behind that's gonna build all of this stuff. So Tarek, what else? What other challenges you're seeing that might be a bottleneck? Or I usually go to the challenges. I'd like to, if we fast forward like 5 years from now, and what are we expecting? Are we expecting the spectacular successes that we see in the bitches?
Of course, I'm expecting spectacular success.
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living. It's my
So
job
what-
to expect
There's a
spectacular
question that I
success.
always ask to my tech
Yeah.
teams: what might go wrong that we can,
Oh,
other than another pandemic or an alien attack? So
Yeah, a quick answer, Aya. What can go wrong? You're familiar with Murphy's Law, of course.
yeah, definitely.
So everything can go wrong. So like this is a quick answer. But to be more specific about that challenge in the coming period, take human capital challenge and talent challenge is a continuous challenge that is currently here for early stage startup and will continue to be a challenge for every startup everywhere along the same the same line and trajectory for the full life cycle of the startup, not only in Egypt, not only in Africa, not only in the Middle East, but worldwide, not only in here. This is the thing. Like I do remember I was just reading this report about the turnover time for engineers in the big four companies, which basically Amazon, Google, and Facebook, and it was less than 1 year. So it's
No matter how attractiveness and perks they add and high salaries.
Yeah. So it's going to always be a challenge. So basically, maybe for you guys in talent arena, this is a good thing. It means more business for you. So challenge for everybody. For you, it means business. So this is one. Second, another two challenges that I can see coming for all of us, specifically in our region. One is more to our region, having a later stage funds, basically a fund who can write a check of coming from this part of the region, who can write a check about $10 million, $50 million check. Till now, very few people who can actually do this. Most of the funds, even at the later stage fund, most of our later stage funds coming from our region can write up to like what, $5, $7, $6 million, $8 million check, but very few of them can write the $10 and $15 million check. And this is actually a big challenge, because even for later stage funds who would be coming from elsewhere, coming from the US or coming from Europe, they need to see people from the region believing in the startups in the region and writing bigger checks with them along the way, with them, to make sure that they provide such thing. Like again, for example, back to the concept of Careem. So Careem, one of the biggest investor was STV. STV was a $500 million fund. If STV didn't write the $70 million and $100 million check for Careem, and to be frank with you, Careem wouldn't have been there, wouldn't have been a success like what I've seen so far. So this is one challenge, basically trying to get later stage funds to invest in our region, coming from our region. This is one, especially with more companies growing and reaching to new heights, need more money to go into those companies. This is one. Just one of the challenge, other of course than the talent challenge that will always be there for every place. Second challenge and we can see it clearly now in China, and surprisingly, for the first time, maybe the Western hemisphere or the Western countries looking at China for more or less a role model of how to deal with tech. So the Chinese government, the way they deal with tech is quite interesting. They're trying to, in a way or another, almost like to control tech companies because they've seen how tech can disrupt economies, how tech can disrupt industries, and they want to have more control over startups. And for example, before in the Trump administration, Trump really tried to do it. Maybe now the administration is more reasonable in a way or another. So they're trying to do it, but not as blunt as what Trump has used to do. Everybody's looking at China and seeing are they going to succeed in what they're doing or not. So what's happening in our part of the world? A lot of government is being part, either directly or indirectly, of the startup ecosystem, either through funding directly, indirect funding, uh, controlling things, positioning themselves as like we are the hubs and things like that. So the role of government by itself is a bigger and growing trend that's happening in here, but always always the fear in here that not all governments would be more of enablers as long as they might be more of a controller governments like this case and what's happening in China. And again, let's not all forget that most of the time earlier on we were saying that we cannot compete with the Chinese because the Chinese startups or Chinese companies are backed by the government. Like for example, if you go at Tinder against Huawei or against whatever, you can say that you're always backed by the government. Now the same government is actually controlling the startup. So this is a growing trend, and I see it's happening everywhere, and I believe that might happen in our country. So my advice to every company at a certain level, specifically as you just said, 5 or 6 years down the road, if they're growing and they will be growing, get your lobbyists in place. Make sure that you have an advocacy team. Make sure that you have government advocacy. Make sure that you have a government relation in place because it's important. Innovation usually comes before regulation, and if you are really disrupting startup, so you'll start disrupting few things, and if you're disrupting few things, you need to make sure for people who would be translating or facilitating what the kind of disruption that you'll be doing. This is the second part, or the third trend that's happening. So the first challenge is talent. Second challenge is later stage funding. Third is the role of government and how you work with government and regulations.
Okay, excellent. So I'll take the second part about the funding and ask Shane actually um, for going up the ladder. How do you think our local VCs or regional VCs can convince fund managers and fund of funds to pour more money to the early stage investors and the angel groups like the family offices? What kind of attractions that we as a community or as we are supporting each other? We can, I believe that entrepreneurs are on the bottom level of the pyramid and the funds, as the funds go up. So we can do it bottom up, we can do it top down. You can come and tell us, okay, guys, I want to see specific things in this ecosystem to be able to convince the guys, people who have money up there to start pouring, and it goes down the pyramid. So what do you have in mind about this?
So I just so that I understand, is your question more on do we need how can we encourage
At the
more
VC level,
late stage funds or more in the early stage funds?
the later stage. So
Ah,
Tarek said
so
that we need to write
yes,
local high checks, more
yes,
15 plus million.
yes.
So
So so
yeah,
I let me actually take the step back because I just wanted to touch on this challenge because I want to emphasize that when we talk about the challenge first, as an expat who love the region so much, I want to start with the statement that I believe we're actually doing very, very well. Right? Whenever I'm on these panels, I think people give too much emphasis on the negatives, the challenge, to imply that like yes, we are still at a nascent ecosystem, but frankly, what we have achieved as a whole in the last several years is a mind blowing. Every region, every market has a challenge. Rather, if you talk to the people in the US, they also have the talents issue. We normally say we have a talents issue here. US guys have the same. They just have a different types of talents because they cost 5 times more expensive, right? So everyone has an issue, and I just wanted to highlight to that. Yes, and now to talk about the late stage, I actually believe that is actually coming. From what I know, I'm sure Tarek Tamer, yes, we do in the absolute scale, we lack enough VCs across the whole boards, from early stage Series A to Series B and C. And it is also absolutely true. We don't have a VC or an investment firm who is willing to write $50 million ticket size. However, all of us, we're working extremely hard to not only bring sovereign funds, also families, corporate, but also international investors to do that. And as you can see from at least from Tamer and myself, Shurokin, we're extremely diverse. We spend a lot of time talking to friends in the US, Asia, Europe, and they should bring their capital here, which they are writing $50 million plus the type of checks to our portfolio companies as we speak. Right. So like as an early stage fund, it is definitely a right focus to help build the company to a certain level, and then we do want to find Series B and C who can write not only 5 to 10 million. I believe those are quite small. Actually, who can write 50 million, $100 million tickets? It is happening. It just takes some time, and it actually takes time not only from the capital perspective. It also takes time to build those good companies. In the past, the problem was frankly, we didn't have too many companies who could raise $100 million, which means you need to be competitive internationally. Right. So like it is all happening. Not only the quality and the quantity of the founders and startups, everything has improved so much. Like actually the interest from the international investment landscape towards the region is also very, very significant. So like it is happening. We just need to have a bit more success cases. We just need to have a bit more confidence. And the one last thing I wanted to highlight related to your last question, and this question is, I believe we just need a lot more scale, right? Like if you ask me, what is the challenge unique to the region that is not applied to globally? Talent for me is a global issue, right? It's always hard to find talent. However, the way I feel about our region is it's hard to scale from Egypt to Saudi to Pakistan to Dubai, right? And unless you can scale like that, it's hard to find a $10 billion company, $100 billion company, hopefully in the next several decades. So like that's what we need to work on, and then international capital or the growth stage capital will come because we will be able to put $100 million ticket size. So the source of the issue I think should come from more as a bottoms up. We need to solve the scalability issue. We need to enable all those. Then the capital, I believe, will come because we do have a lot of smart capital towards the region. They just cannot find the right entrance to the right companies.
So the scale point is very interesting because I personally I would share a personal insight about the scaling thing is a lot of folks get fun and they start the startups. It looks very nice. Things are growing fast. However, um, what brought when they hit a specific point of scale, they are not aware how to drive the company as a company at scale, from the process, from the selling, from the business perspective, from the investment perspective, from the human and people management perspective. And I always share to my friends what brought you here won't bring you there. The first 4 to 5 years of your startup are not like the second ones. So some founders and CEOs keep doing the same ad hoc way of managing things and getting things done at a later stage, which makes the company, this is my personal opinion, at scale, don't operate properly. uh, it is true. It is one of the issues that we as a region are not well educated at managing, or at least the founders. Many of them are like dropouts or didn't spend enough time working in an enterprise, or they didn't see a company working at scale, so they can copy these or learn these processes and put it into another startup and make it break through. So I don't know. Any one of you would like to? Is this true?
At least I can quickly comment, and then my friends Tamer, Tarek, please go ahead. So it is true that we normally say, so Tarek and Tamer and I, Shuruk and Endor, we primarily focus on, let's say, C2 Series A. I know Tarek is working on a few exciting initiatives also, right? It normally takes a certain level of a mindset for a founder start the idea and build up to a certain level. And it also requires a different set of skill set or idea to scale that to a different level. And I can say that because I used to work at a private equity firm in the US where I bought much larger companies and helped them scale. And now I focus on earlier stage to get to that standpoint. So it is true. And this is particularly more true in our region in the sense that let's say you're crushing it in Egypt, then normally founders start to think, okay, how can I expand to other parts of Africa, or can I go to Saudi? These days, Pakistan is also very up and rising, so a lot of Egypt founders say, can I go to Pakistan? But like the way to operate your business, same business in Egypt, Saudi, Pakistan, are actually quite different. A lot of founders tell me, yes, I'm crushing it in Egypt. I want to go to Pakistan, and actually vice versa. So I asked them, have you ever been to Pakistan? They normally say no. They're actually never been to the Pakistan. So like, I don't think anyone in the world actually has the experience of scaling in both Egypt and Pakistan, unless the people in this group chat, unless the entrepreneurs from the region the last several years. So that's why, and this challenge is a good thing, right? It's a friction, it's a defensible mode. So this is a whole blue ocean market where we can absolutely crush it. We have a lot stronger competitive edge compared to the US guys, Asian guys, European guys. So a quick answer is yes. And I believe we're solving it. We're just learning. Like everyone has a first time experience. And I believe really the entrepreneurs in our region are so capable, so disciplined and talented to enable that, right? To go through that, right?
Yes.
Tamer, Tariq, any thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I think culturally we're very good at initiative. We're very good at starting things. And then it's very exciting when you start something new, when you're trying to hit certain milestones. But like Shane mentioned, the mindset to scale a business and to institutionalize and to start replicating things over and over and over and over again becomes is still new and is still very challenging. But the reality is that once you transition from upstart or initial traction to replicating your success, you just have to do the same thing again and again and again and again and get better at doing the same thing again and again and again, right? And that's the mindset for scaling. It's very different than the hustle and the ad hoc basis that you mentioned, Aya, when you're running things in the beginning. You need to do some work that might be considered boring, like institutionalizing systems and processes and I mean, I can understand why some people still don't find that very exciting.
Yes. Tariq, any comments about this? Like to share with us?
So it's a learning process, as Tamer and Shane said. It's a learning process. It needs a lot of discipline. It needs a lot of time, and it's like you're gonna solve it bit by bit. Like, for example, when people manage to scale Careem across different countries, there happens the Careem spillover effect. You have several founders coming now, building other successful companies coming out of Careem. So they're learning and they're repeating it again. So now a lot of good and like fast-growing companies originally related to Careem in a way or another. And that will happen for every other single success. So you need to start from somewhere and you just repeat it. It needs time. It's a learning process. It needs discipline, and it needs money, and it needs resources. The good thing that money's coming, resources you as Talent Arena and other people trying to solve, hopefully. We just need the right leaders going after the right problems, having strategic patience enough, and good investors who can hopefully try to support them in a way or another to know exactly where they're heading. And it's all learning process for all of us, because again, even if you are repeating it every single time, it's different time because it's different conditions, different situation.
Definitely. So I believe we can shift gears to the tech part again. And since we're talking about talents and the lack of talents, I believe that the turnover is insane. It's like 13.6%. It's the turnover in the tech industry is higher than all other industries combined. And a recent report I've read that the supply of tech talents is covering only 15% of the demand. in US. So from investment perspective and funding, how do you see the, I'll start with Tariq actually. How do you see like investors' role in enabling and supporting the growth of MEA Tech Hubs if we
Sure.
the narrative here? Yeah.
There are several things that can be done in here. First, all of us as investors, we should be giving more money to startups to make sure that the offer them more competitive offer for the talent, for example. And of course, and again, at the same time, we should be giving again, giving them more money to be able to attract talent from abroad to come back to their countries, their home countries, and make sure that they have some sort of knowledge transfer to the younger generation. This is like straightforward answer, specifically at the level of the startup, but at the level of more of a macro thing or support thing, there are several initiatives that's happening. Like for example, currently I'm talking to you from the Egyptian programming competition contest. So basically, this is, if you are familiar with it, like used to be called early on the ACM competition for programming competition for university students. I'm wearing their logo and their t-shirt in here. You can see it in here. Now we have the best 300 engineering talent competing with each other from all over universities in Egypt, currently in Alexandria. And the winners would go and compete with the overall region that includes the Arab region and Africa. And the winners would go and compete for the finals this year. The finals would be happening in Moscow. Specifically, if you train people to be problem solvers and to train them at these numbers and make sure that you get the best talent and nurture it early on, not just to wait till they are after they graduate and things like that. That would enable a lot of things that happen and can be very transformational to the ecosystem around us and to very transformational to all our companies around us. And this is something that we believed in and endure early on. And I think we started being the main sponsor for this competition back in 2015. And just to give you more insight about this competition, so Mark Zuckerberg was the contestant in this competition. I don't remember the guy of WhatsApp. I don't remember his name, like Koman or Koma, something like that. The Russian guy. He used to be a contestant. Adam, the founder of Quora, used to be a contestant, and he currently sits on the board of this competition worldwide. So just imagine all of those guys actually came.
I've been an ACM as well.
Perfect. So Aya Giveli used to be a contestant. So come on. So basically, yeah, all the big guys who are trying to make real jumps in technical in the technical arena, basically coming from such a competition, because they are problem solvers. They think strategically about problems and how they can come together as a team to address such problems. So this is the most important thing. And even I think one of the co-founders of Swayville as well was one of the contestants. So there's
like, it changes the mindset, like being into this kind of education for the problem solving contests. I think it changes how we see problems in general.
I fully agree, and that's why we should all be coming and doing things like that. We should all be supporting such initiatives. Either there's an initiative that's happening, we go and support it, or we actually work on building our own initiatives. We should all come together collaboratively, work with the like what you call like the civil society. We work with the government, with a lot of other people to make sure that we get things done, specifically at the talent era, because that will be the biggest challenge that's faced everywhere for any company to scale.
And actually, personally, Tariq, I believe it was very nice initiative. Okay. It was a very nice. It's my son. It's attending the event. I remember back in 2006, we were organizing the nationals, the ACM national, and we had very, very limited resources organizing such event as students, because there was no kind of support to run these events. We used to set up the labs by ourselves, buy the balloons, like print the tags, and they go and ask the faculty at the university to give us some labs to run the local and national contests. It was very limited. And having such investment, it takes it to a next level, totally next level. Because I've seen a lot of students, they actually don't have the enough fund to actually travel to the contest at this scale. So I believe what you're doing is fantastic, supporting such contest. So what else, Tamer and Chen, you see in supporting the tech hubs and the tech movement in our region?
Just small comment, Aya. We're just lucky to be there to support them. We are the lucky guys to be there to support such initiative.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Uh, and really the community who is watching this panel. First, there is no doubt that really the people who are watching this, the developers, is really the backbone behind all this technology revolution that's happening. Right. So any support that you need, I believe, government, corporates, individuals, families, VCs, we should all be there to really support as much as we can. At least I can tell you that. So Shuruk, we now have about 40 portfolio companies. Each one of them is looking for A plus talent on a daily basis on the development side. So anything that we can help you, please reach out to us. We'll love to do it. We do like just to talk about some programs you guys have mentioned like Shuruk, we really resonate the similar values you have, Tariq, because when unfortunately the Lebanon explosion happened, we actually also did a focus initiative to help recruit Lebanon developers and talents, not only developer but across the whole terrains, actually for all of our portfolio companies, and that was a huge success, right? And we would love to also do something of that concentrated effort, right? Because I believe developers and technical engineers sometimes do not know their true capability and also do not know what's really out there. So like people like us, we can really show you and help you guide what are the amazing opportunities out there. It's not only about startups. And if you want to go for a large corporate, go in large corporate, but you sometimes need some of us to help you get in front of the right Google headhunter, right Amazon headhunter. We're happy to really facilitate as just as a friend, as a gateway. But at least selfishly, at least I'm gonna be selfish, as the camera can be selfless. At least I would love to get to know you so that look today we have a 40 companies next year and really in our grand vision we have hundreds and hundreds of companies. We'd love to help connect with you and also recommend refer to our portfolio companies. We're all in deep tech to fintech to platform, and there are some of them are in Egypt, some of them are outside of Egypt, and we're here to support you with it.
Excellent. Tamer, any comments about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to comment after two guys like Tariq and Shane always, but ultimately, I think as investors, we all need to recognize that we have a responsibility beyond our own firms and beyond our own portfolio companies because we are first to market, right? We've been some of the first people to work in this ecosystem. We grew up with the same sort of cohort of founders. We lived through the challenges together, and we have to recognize that we all ultimately have a responsibility beyond our own sort of micro universe, right? And we all really try, and I know Tariq does, and I know Shane does, and I do. We all try to be approachable. We all try to be available. We all try to speak to as many people as we possibly can and try to help as many people as we possibly can, even if sometimes it has very little direct impact on our own sort of welfare. And I hope and encourage many other people to do the same and to recognize that we have a responsibility beyond our own sort of small universes to contribute and to share and to support.
So Aya, if I may, I want to quickly comment on the really interesting stat you mentioned on why is such a high turnover on the developer community, right? So I remember having this discussion when I was in the US. So I believe the high turnover in the US and also potentially here is because of a different reasons. So in the US, developers are actually the king, right? They're in such a high demand. Actually, I believe they're always being solicited to join another company, another competitor, and it's like money and the price carries a big weight on those contracts. Whereas here, I actually believe the source of that issue is a bit more fundamental. What I mean by that is, for example, the culture, work culture. Like we need to empower our team, the developers. We're actually building the codes, we're building the product to be more empowered and to be, let's say, more independent. But sometimes when I see the startups and the companies, we don't have that culture. It's sometimes very top down. Like as a Korean myself, I can tell you Asia is very like similar. Like the decisions are made by non-techie, and we tell you here's what I think you should do, and anything that deviates from that, I don't like it, right? I don't think that should be the case. If you really want to develop a product-led company, and the best companies are product-led companies, then that ideas that the leadership needs to come from the developers. And I believe some best startups, some best companies have that culture, and they probably will succeed. And they'll probably have a high retention rate of the employees. But this work culture, I think, is one of a bit more fundamental issue in our region, which again is happening and is changing. But we hope that the change happens a bit faster.
Excellent. Actually, I want to build on this, Shane, that the current workforce, especially in tech, is formed of millennials. Like 60% are millennials, and it's gonna increase. And most of them, like, have by definition, like they want to see uh, quick gains, quick wins, and they keep hopping between jobs. However, they are more likely to get into a flexible lifestyle. They don't want like this commitment, full time commitment with a specific place like never before, and and they are more into the freelancing lifestyle than into the full time job. So they think that it it if the next workforce wave we have in the like next 5 years, most of them will be like freelancers or on part-time or like short-time contracts. Will this be valid for startups to grow, to have not to change the mindset about hiring the full team with a culture, with values, principles, and all of this kind of shaping the future of work, that we have a firm, people working from 9 to 5. Now we are having a more like mobile way of doing of getting things done. Does this show us that we need to build the companies and teams in a different way that we used to think about before?
Should I take the first step,
Yeah.
France? Yeah. So look, I'm gonna talk about two quick points. Yeah. So first, at the end, if you are self-motivated and independent and disciplined, that decentralized workplace, or these days we call future of work, right? That's a new, very popular and sexy term, a future of work. What does it mean? But like a future of work, those top talents will absolutely crush it in this new environment, because you can actually dictate your own schedule, right? You might be happier to work at a cafe than a cubicle in an office. So like that inspires your creativity. So I think the top of the top talents will absolutely crush it in this mode. However, you mentioned like can the startups and can this be the standard? My humble view, which I know the audience is gonna kill me, is I don't believe actually that's the healthy for the company, because at least for me, right? I believe in the concept of ownership, and if you want to have the concept of ownership, it's not about the location. It's more about like you need to have the stream of consciousness of building for your journey, building for the company, the vision you believe in. And if you only work as a freelancer, or if you only work as a part time, how can you build that 40 years, 50 years enduring business? right? That is for me is more like yes, I would do a quick professional development work. I would do a quick buck here and there, but how can you really have the full ownership that you can build for many years? Like I just struggle with that. So it's less related to location and the work hours. It's more about the contractual arrangement is where I personally don't have enough conviction on. But this is a bit controversial because the fact is, globally, like I think LinkedIn and Airbnb just announced they don't expect employees to come back to the office forever. Right? You can work anywhere, Greece, Maldives, Dubai, Korea. Come to Korea if you can. Do whatever you can. Do whatever you can. However, right, what people I don't think they see is yes, that seems like only the benefit, but there's a liability associated with it. If you don't perform, people can see through it. Then you're not gonna last for a while, right? So like if you work, it just means I think there are different elements to that coin. And when this future of work comes, I think we just need to be prepared what we're getting into. Right.
Okay. So, is it possible? The idea was if they are already high turnover, they are already leave in 9 months, and I know this by heart. Not all of this, but all of them, but most of them. We're gonna, if we know this as a fact, as a matter of fact, as a matter of thing we are seeing already, do we necessarily have to keep attached to the um, model we are using right now? I believe Tarek's interface screen is freezing. So, Tamer, do you have inputs in this?
There is, but so honestly, so this is a really tough one, and I conceptually, I agree with what Shane is saying about longevity and about sort of ownership. I also see the inevitability of the market of employees dictating how they want to work, and us having very little ability to influence this. Ultimately, I think, at least in this region, most definitely in Egypt, maybe not the whole region, we have a tendency, and we've had a tendency for so long, to undervalue ourselves and to question our own sense of self-worth as workers and as people who have an ability to achieve amazing and incredible things. And I think as we sort of grow together, and we address that, it might become almost the norm to feel a sense of ownership when you want to build something. So yes, we might have 70% of developers or 70% of workers maybe be contract remote all over the place, but there has to be a core team that's making sure that sort of vision and longevity and consistency just carries through as and when these sort of contract workers keep shifting, if that makes any sense.
I believe Tarek's interface is still frozen. Yeah. So,
I can hear you.
I think we're all good. Maybe, yeah.
So I
Tarek,
don't know.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Tarek, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me back or not.
Do you hear Tarek? Because I don't.
Yeah, we hear it. We're him.
Okay. So, Tarek, did you please leave and join again? I'm sorry for this, but there's something that your interfaces keep reloading at the backstage at my side. So, I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I'm the one who need to leave and join again.
No, I can leave again, no problem.
I can hear Tare and I can hear Shane,
Okay,
and I
so
think
I
all
will.
of us can hear each other.
Okay, I will leave and join in a second.
Sure.
Okay.
I can be a moderator now, guys.
Yeah, go for it, man. I think it's Tare's turn to comment on the future of work.
Yeah. Okay. So Tarek's turn. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Welcome back. So you know what? Back to the future of work. So the moment you decided to leave, somebody else jumped in and said that he can be moderating. This is exactly the future of work. That sums all about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and here's the thing: you need to have more talent, and you need to have to live with that concept. That of course you need more people who are excited about what they're building, and it is your job as a leader of the business to make them excited. There are resources, and you as a leader, you need to go and convince investors, you need to go and and convince co-founders to join you in your journey, because when for any startup idea, there's not like, usually even if you have like two or three co-founders, it's only one founder who came up with the idea and start convincing and talk to other people and convince them to join him later on. Same thing would be for your work, your employees, your technical talent. And again, if we're all saying this is a challenge, and access to best people is a challenge, and you want to get the best people on board, you need to work for it. You need to up your game for it. If it is people are asking for free, like for example, I don't believe a company like Airbnb or a company like Google or things like that would love not to have their employees working as full time and everything. Maybe they want to like decrease the lease, but I don't think the lease part is the thing that they are after in decreasing their cost in a way or another. But they have to say, we're flexible, people are not coming again, because this is the new reality. The sooner that you embrace it and you think about how you're going to respond to it, the better position you are in. So it is up to you as a leader to make sure that you embrace that, to make sure that you have tools and processes and systems in place to allowing a lot of people, a lot of good talent across the world coming together, working together to deliver something that's related to you. So, and here's the thing: if you cannot retain your employees, if you are not encouraging them enough, tough luck. The only way to succeed is to do this, and you need to make sure that you be able to do it. Our job as investors is to help you as much as you can to do this, is try to think with you about what can be done to retain the best talent, what can be done to nurture the best talent, what can be done to make sure that you're providing them with a mission that it's worth for them to keep trying to build or work to deliver. This is the right thing to do. And this is how you build good companies and great companies. Not every company is destined to be a $1 billion company or multi-billion-dollar company. But guess what? When it comes to startups, when it comes to companies that change the world, these are the companies that need to be there. And if other companies won't be there, it makes a lot of sense to get all the other best talent to be joining the other company that can be transformational all over the world, not only
Yeah.
with small and medium success.
Yes, I
That's
totally agree. I totally agree.
I'll give a quick example of this future of work, at least even that is impacting investment from VC like Shuruk. So we actually have a quite decentralized, and we have 5 region offices, everyone. So we have a headquarter and the office in Abu Dhabi. We're building one in Dubai, but we spend a lot of time in Dubai. We have our own office in Saudi, also multiple people. We have also one in Egypt where Tamer is leading it, but also we're literally building a team there as we speak. And we just gave an offer to one person. We're literally aggressively building up a team there. We have an office in Bahrain and soon opening one in actually in Pakistan, right? So like for us, the people think we have like a 200 people team. Frankly, we don't have a 200 people team. We have a very small team. We work very closely with each office, but we have a very small and a tight team who like is really embodies this full extreme ownership concept. And now to connect this to like the audience and what we're talking about, I believe with this a new way of working as a team, certain skill sets are even more important than the past. For example, communication skills, right? And because like in the past, if you all worked in the same office, if I had an issue, I can reach out to you, have a coffee, have a quick discussion. You save a lot of time. But now, if you are sitting in Egypt, Saudi, Pakistan, Korea, and etc., unless you have a very streamlined, good culture, so culture really is a very intangible but super, super important. And also, these communication skills are super important. So like especially if you're a developer, I believe this is becoming more and more critical, and for everyone, right? But particularly in this new era for the millennials, for the future of work. So I just wanted to highlight to anyone who want to fully embrace this. I believe again it is a great new environment that can really accelerate some people's career, some companies' dynamic or culture. But of course, some things has to be adapted well.
Yeah, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
I was saying that I like the part when you said that you are not necessarily a big team to run regional offices. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Let's just keep it internally here. I don't want anyone else to hear that. We're a big team. I was kidding. Like we have a big offices.
So I'd like to navigate through the questions. I believe we have some nice questions in the remaining minutes of our panel. As I'm really enjoying it a lot, and I believe our audience as well are enjoying it. But the first question was by Mohammed Meher, and he says there are many CS graduates in Africa, and the opportunity to get a job in the CS or the tech job for is very low. And every new startup that open jobs, they are seeking the senior 4+ years and above, who are necessarily not that available. Uh, so he is asking if there is issue in talent finding and retention, why not raise that talent through internships, training that reach those who are actually just starting? So I would like to pick up.
I mean, I can say something. This is a bit of a loaded grenade question, but I'll take it. I'm very good at taking grenades. But honestly, okay, so if I'm a startup and I have 2 or 3 people on my team and I'm looking to hire a tech team, if I don't hire 2 guys or 2 girls with 4 or 5 years work experience, who's going to train those interns? Right? So it's great. It's important to have these programs. And I think these programs come with slightly more mature companies. So as companies grow, they can have more internship programs. When the company is small and there aren't a lot of experienced professionals, it's tough. Having an intern is tough because you have to really, I mean, I'm not going to hire someone and not invest in them and teach them and help them and support them, which takes a lot of time, right? So there's a stage for companies to be able to do that. Early on in the life of companies, it's quite hard. But as companies grow and scale, we should absolutely see more and more of these programs.
I'll give a quick thoughts here. So I don't know exactly which country in Africa you're going to a college. So
I believe he's from Egypt.
yeah, as a Shane, so I went to a school called Wharton School in the United States. So as an undergrad, so like our school had a fabulous internship programs for whatever field, like a finance, consulting, etc. And definitely, I was very lucky and blessed to have that. I believe yes, so companies who at the end will be employers of these internships also need to be ready, but schools need to play a big part in this, right? Like even getting a job board in the we had a UPenn portal, right, where I just need to go there. I don't have time to go to 10 other portals. I just go there, get ready with my resume. I actually, this is really bad, but I used to drop 300 resumes. It's terrible. Don't do that. But like I never customized, just dropped every single one of them and see what type of interviews I get. And those interviews actually help you find your passion, right? So here I totally resonate. So at least at Shuruk, we always used to get, so in UAE office, we always used to get our interns from NYU Abu Dhabi, some universities in UAE. I know Tamer also has some exciting initiatives with like AUC and some other colleges in Egypt. Saudi, we also have that. So we do that locally because we totally see this an issue, and I feel terrible for it. I'm sure all of us we take a part in it. We want to help you solve it, but it is a longer initiative. Government, schools, corporates, we all need to work together. All I can say is please just keep the hustle. Like you have to code email. If you didn't code email, because if there's no resource like that in the job portal, what can you do? You shouldn't just sit and idle. Reach out to 500 companies. I used to do that,
Yes.
right? So like then I'm sure someone will see your passion, someone will see your discipline, and you will land the job that of your vision that you like.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to what you've said, Shane, that it takes two to tango, as they say. It has to go the both, because as a graduate, you should know that the challenge is high. There is high competition, and you need as well to increase your skill set, your communication, your good command of English, your writing and written skills, uh, because what actually companies is suffering from is that when they start hiring fresh grads, they are not what I usually quote it, not hireable yet. This is not what a company with limited resources would put themselves in a situation like this to get people on board who are not hireable enough. So it goes both ways. Companies should try to look to good talents for in the fresh and the junior level, and as well the guys graduating should know what kind of skills they should not be graduating without having good command of. And this is what we have been reaching about, like in the 5 6 years ago, that we go every year to faculties of engineering and go and say, guys, don't graduate without knowing this set of skills. Don't graduate where you don't know how to read an article in English and write some good emails, because sometimes we see people writing like code commits in Franco, or getting like a business email written in Franco Arabic. This is not appropriate. So it goes both ways. um, Okay, so the second question
Uh,
is,
I
yeah.
just want to comment something before you go to the second question. Just quick one. So basically, you said it all except like I just want to give two examples. It's not about graduate or not graduate or having experience or not. I do remember in several of our startups, we had people who are working for them in the tech team where we had a big problem. We couldn't actually transfer their salary to them because they're still under 16 years old. So they didn't have their bank account, so we couldn't actually transfer their salary to them. Those guys were not even at the right age when we tried to give them their
Was it
salary.
legal?
Sorry, come again?
Was it legal?
Yeah, it's legal. They get money. They get money.
Inshallah.
And we had this. And by the way, one of them now is one of the top engineering posts in Swivel, for example. And another guy, he's an architect at Amazon. But at that time, uh, at that time we couldn't actually wire the money to him because he was underage and he couldn't be able to open an independent bank account to wire the money for him. So it's not about graduating or not, it's about your skill and what you have. It's not just about graduating. This is one. Second, I still back in 2018, I used to have my own software, small house, so it's a service company. At that time, I didn't have enough money, so the only way to make sure that I get job done with relatively limited budget was actually to go and hire undergrads because they were asking for a much lower salary than postgrads,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was the only thing. So yeah, so if you are still an undergrad or still just graduating, you shouldn't be going and to work for Google, for example. You should be going for Google because you might not be able to get into those companies, although they have whatever all the resources and whatever it takes for you to train you and to develop you. But again, you can go and work before even graduating because you can do a lot of things. Who said that you should start be working when after you graduate? For God's sake, this like software developer, you can start doing it while you're 10 years old. This is the thing that we need to have. This, if you want to build things, you want to get things, you can get things done.
Yes.
There's no excuse in here.
Yes. Definitely agree. Um, and the guys in ECM and in Russia and in US, they start coding at the age of like I believe Petra and Tourist started coding at 6 and 8 years old, something like this. So the compound effect was there. They had this compounding effect. Um, so Muhammad Abu Saud, is asking, when working on a new startup idea, how to overcome governmental obstacles. For example, fintech, there is a challenge related to regulatory. My question: how to deal with these challenges? It's Mohammed. So,
Happy to give my thoughts. So this is a great question because at least Shuruk, so about half of our portfolio companies are fintech, right? We have great companies even in Egypt, also in the fintech side, also in Saudi, UAE, like Nimcar to Lendo to many Sarwa. So as part of nature of fintech, regulatory landscape has to actually be extremely well understood, and they like you really need to know, especially as a founder, you really need to know how to navigate that regulatory landscape. So I don't think there is like I don't think there's too much room around it. Like we understand it takes time, unfortunately, and I think all of us are working hard to hopefully accelerate that. There are probably some smart ways. We should never do something that can hurt us down the road, but I'm sure there are ways you can optimize product market fit, at least get a customer like a survey response before you're fully licensed without doing some technology. That's not what I'm promoting to. Like Mohammed, at least if you work in the fintech space, regulatory landscape has to be your friend. Otherwise, I mean, it is part of the unfortunate initial obstacle, but also that becomes your biggest defensible moat, right? So, I would love to understand exactly what field you're in. If you will tend to be on the B2C side, the regulatory landscape I do see is changing faster. If you're working more on the infrastructure ones, for example, we have back big times at a company like Lean, which is open banking. We have also in the SME lending called Lendo. We're backing another company in Egypt on the reverse invoice factoring, which hopefully we can announce it very soon. Those big more in the infrastructure level, I do see that the regulatory landscape is changing a bit slower, which at least personally I'm super impatient on. We're working extremely hard to be patient. It will be done. So just make sure you think through how much funding you can have, because a lot of that you do need to have a dry powder to survive and make sure you have enough cushions, right? And also sometimes I actually forgot the exact requirements in Egypt. Sometimes in Saudi and UAE there is significant amount of deposit that you need to put just to get the license. So also you need to think proactively about, like, if I'm willing to raise $5 million, but if I know I need to deposit $3 million into Saudi just for the deposit, perhaps you need to raise more. So some of those discussions, please think through it and also discuss openly with your investors and also with VCs. Happy to really give my thoughts if I understand a bit more detail.
um, yeah, I totally agree. So the next question is, in your opinion, uh, what are the best areas to invest in Africa, Central, West, and South in future? Question by Hassan.
As a non-Egyptian here, is this a trick question? Do I need to say Egypt, or do I just give you my honest answer? Right? I will listen to Tariq and Tamer's answer. I'll give you my thoughts on it.
I don't think we should be sort of. That's a very general question, and I think it's tough. I don't think you look at regionally. I think we look at opportunities as and when they come. I think there's a huge opportunity in countries with large populations and complex problems. So it's not a matter of Central, West, and South, and it's a tough question to answer. That's for sure.
Yeah. So there is a question by Amr Zaid. What he is asking, what do I mean by hireable and what the minimum requirements beside fundamentals from our undergraduate studies? So Tariq, could you please give us some insights about the guys you mentioned, the undergrads or the school students?
Okay, sure. So basically, this guy, he used to be coding since like what he was 12 or something or 13. When we hired him, he was just 16 at that time. Smart guy, loves working, loves the delivering things, competent enough. To tell you the truth, I'm not familiar with what's being uh, taught now in universities and software programming and software engineering. And again, to tell you the truth, companies early on and the startups at early beginning, they don't have like the specific processes where you need to learn software engineering. Of course, software engineering is really important to understand the different processes and different everything, like agile, waterfall, this kind of different blah blah blah, all those kind of things. But then at the end of the day, if you can write software that get things done, just write it. This is what you need to do. Just write software, get things done, make sure that you deliver, make sure that you work fast, make sure that you know exactly what you're building. And it's not like a specific language, it's not like a specific thing, it's just about getting things done. It's as simple as that. It's more of a mindset and attitude, more than just something that you learn, or like I took this in database course or something like that. Like most of the things that I'm working with now, till now, I'm software engineer by the way. Most of the things I learned it after school, or even I've learned it before school, before going into school. So this is the kind of thing that you need to do. It's about mindset, about getting things done. It's not about who's going to teach me what. It's
Yes.
about what needs to be done and take it from there, take it backwards, say, so this is what I need to learn, this is how I should be getting it. And all the resources out there, all the people who want to help are out there. Just reach out and get things done. That's it.
Yes. Um, there is a nice question about how can I really persuade investors? He's using the persuading verb to invest in your startup, especially Series A. Is it idea, team, market, MVP, ongoing work, good presenters, all
You
type of.
shouldn't persuade, you should make them actually go after you. You shouldn't be persuading them. If you are persuading them, you already lost them. You should be actually making them going after you as much as you can. And how you do this? By building something that actually people want. And how you do that? By actually getting things done. Build whatever you are gonna build, small thing, even like if it's يعني, a small cracky thing at the very beginning, but yet you can show clearly that people want whatever that you're building. Believe me, all other investors would be going after you. But if you waste your time to try to convince investors to give you money to build something that later on would be proven successful, believe me, they will not give you anything.
So Hassan, if I may, because you specifically mentioned a Series A, I'll try to give a bit more some thoughts here. First, like the way Tarek mentioned about to Amar's a question before, there's no holy Quran, holy Bible here. Like there's no one book, right? So obviously, team members, market, MVP, ongoing work, good presenters, they all have to be there. But if you talk about Series A, particularly in our region, and I'm telling you how normally VCs in our region focus on Series A do it. I believe Tarek Endor, you also focus a bit earlier, right? At least at Shurok, we like to focus on pre-seed and seed. So like we like to specialize in seed up to Series A, and we do write our first checks in Series A and also lead them as we led many companies on that round. But we do prefer a bit earlier than that. Series A normally it should be just more than a vision and the idea on the paper, right? You might not have to generate significant amount of revenue. I think that's okay, and our investors in our region have also matured to understand that. But you do need to have a very clear idea on the product. It's not a seed stage or pre-seed where you can say that, oh, I think this could work, but I want your seed capital to start. You should have tested many things, right, with the amount of money you've raised, and also actually have a very clear idea. This is a product I'm building or solution I'm building. If it works, why? If it doesn't, I need to understand why. But I still need your Series A capital so that I know this is gonna work, right? Okay, and ideally, you do start to show some traction, right? Again, if you're in the infrastructure fintech, I can wait. If you're in e-commerce, I don't want to wait for a Series A. I'll tell you with full transparency, if you're e-commerce for a Series A, I believe you should have a good traction, right? But if you're in a different field, it's very different. We co-founded a company called Pure Harvest, where now we produce 150 tons of tomatoes a week, right? Now a Series A, we produce tens of tomatoes a week. We have a fintech companies who are just working on MVP for the Series A. So every company is very different. However, Series A maturity has to be there. It's this traction and all this stuff is more a detail. You as a company need to be a lot more mature to talk about your product, talk about exactly what problem you're solving. Otherwise, remember after Series A, Series B. Series B in our region is significant achievement. The traction, the level of a depth you need to get to in Series B is a paramount. And you only have that additional 12 to 18 months to show that you deserve a Series B. Otherwise, you're not going to do well. You're not going to survive. Even if you raise a few $1 million, there are not enough guys on Series B in our region who is willing to give you that check size. So just wanted to highlight that to you.
I think we are almost done. We have um, a couple of questions, but I believe it's like they need another talk of their own themselves. Um, I'd like to thank you all, Tarek, Tamer, and Shane, for this very insightful discussion. I really enjoyed it, and I barely felt the time passing. Um, do you have a, if you have any kind of key takeaway for our audience, uh, what would you like to say? So we can start with Tamer.
Sure. Thank you for having us, Aya. It's very rare that we as investors get an opportunity to talk with so many engineers. I mean, I saw at some point there were something like 220 or 215 engineers listening to three investors talk. So it's not often that we get a chance to talk to you guys. I'm very, very grateful that you invited us all to this. It's a pleasure to be here. In terms of key takeaway, I think don't wait for things to change. You know, don't wait for opportunities. Don't wait for the next internship. Like Tariq said, and like Shane said, just get things done. Just go do things. You know, don't keep waiting for someone to give you an opportunity or to give you a chance. Go out and create your own opportunity and create your own chance to accelerate as a human being. So don't wait for handoffs is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it's our pleasure as well, Tamer. And I want to note that this panel was recorded and it's gonna be shared on other social media. So because there were many things in parallel, but and the guys I believe were moving through within the booths, but we are going to share it with more engineering audience after the event. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Tarek, I will give you the most important last speaker role so that I can relieve some pressure. So friends, uh, I really believe that for us, when I say us, the whole region to achieve the full potential we want to achieve, the community that here today is really the backbone. Frankly, I believe we're not short of sometimes the business people, we're not short of the finance people. Those skill sets, actually, I have to say, is a bit easier to learn. Like I'm a finance guy. I've never been a developer. I did learn C++. I was okay with it. I was never so good at it. I'm a business guy. I'm a finance guy throughout my career. You can be disciplined and work hard to learn. I believe what you're learning is truly more difficult. So like just master that to we normal Tamara and I normally say shut up. We like to invest in companies that are ruthless to competitors. I want you to dominate on what you're doing, right? And not just good enough, like literally not just hiring enough. You should have the vision that I want to be the software developer, the entrepreneur, like whatever that is your vision, and please do so and hone that because our future, especially in the startup technology, you guys are the backbone. Either you're a founder or not, either you're a developer or not. Like we really are depending on you guys for anything that we can help as a group, do let us know. I also shared an email here. It's an extreme pleasure to meet, right? And if you're looking to join a company startup, only reach out to Shurux and the Indoor Capitals companies, right? Don't go to anyone else. So please do so, and it's a true pleasure to meet.
Thank you, Shane. Tarek,
To tell you the truth, I cannot add anything else, which basically makes my job much easier. The only thing that I might say that, please, guys, you are the real thing in here. Know your worth. You are the real engine behind everything that's gonna be built in the coming period. So shape up. Make sure that you are up to the responsibility. I'm sure you will. And again, you are much bigger than you think you are, and you are more valuable, and we all would love to work with you, support you, invest in you, invest in your startups. You are almost welcome to work with us, because this is the only way going forward. Again, uh, as Shane said, you are the backbone of everything that's being built around here now. So good luck.
so thank you. Thanks a lot. And I hope to see you in future events, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. Happy Saturday. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.